Okay, so Karen, did you know that big city hospitals in Texas have been overwhelmed this week with the influx of patients, and state health officials say that the activity is widespread across the state?
Really? Hello, this is Karen.
And this is Kevin.
And this is Right From Us. So, Kev, what'd you do this week?
Well, today I put up our Christmas lights outside our house and also my uncle's house.
Leroy. We can go ahead
We
and
can say
say his name.
Leroy.
His name's Leroy.
We can say that?
We can
We're
say
allowed?
that. There are certain things I don't
actually,
really want to say.
Throughout the year, we have been we've been buying Christmas lights.
In your treasure hunting
While we're treasure
adventures.
hunting, if we see a good deal on Christmas lights, we'll buy them.
That's probably smart.
Well, you take a chance on them being bad. I mean, a lot of times they can be bad, but we actually came out pretty good this year. Everything that we bought worked.
And aren't they pretty expensive if you were to buy them brand new LEDs?
Yeah, the LEDs are, yes,
Yeah.
pretty expensive. So we got them for almost nothing. So we got a whole bunch of new Christmas lights out there this year, and a nativity scene, a big nativity scene.
That you put in front of our house.
Yeah.
We just came back from getting something to eat for dinner, and we drove around the front of our house, and the lights look great. The nativity scene is very bright.
I think it looks pretty cool. I've always
It
wanted one
does
of those.
actually
It's one of
look
those
pretty cool.
that lights up, you know.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it's definitely lit. You can definitely see it. You know, speaking of things that you got on your treasure hunt, you got your your headphones too, someplace.
I bought these new headphones last week.
How much did you pay for them?
Well, see if you can guess how much they are. They were. See if you can guess.
They couldn't be $9.99 by chance, would they?
$9.99.
And they look brand new.
They are new headphones. I
That's
bought a
crazy.
thrift store, and these headphones sell for over $100 at Walmart.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy that you're able to find such good deals for like just pennies on the dollar.
You can find if you're just patient, and you have to go quite often because it's really hit or miss going to these
Yeah.
thrift stores, but you really can find a lot of great deals.
And there's a reason why I don't go with him, by the way, guys. I don't have the patience. I look at all this stuff and I just see junk, but he sees the potential, and he has a lot of good luck in finding things. I feel like people might be more apt to go out and look for things like that if they were in a position they could potentially fix something. Like, I feel like that's your advantage to a lot
I
of
do
people.
like to find things that I can fix and resell. We have my uncle and I have a flea market booth. We find things, and a lot of times it's things that need to be fixed
Yeah.
that we can resell and make a little bit extra money for my uncle. He's disabled, so
Right. So that's something they do together, and he actually has a pretty good eye for that stuff, doesn't he? He can actually pick out some pretty good stuff sometimes.
he actually has a great eye for things.
Especially if you're telling him to keep an eye out for something, and he
He can find whatever.
he can. It's kind of uncanny.
And this is really kind of a new development in my life, because I 2 or 3 years ago, well,
Oh,
probably
no.
actually 5 years ago, I would never have gone to a thrift
Yeah.
store or a flea market. In
And-
fact, I had a roommate.
I don't really know why. I mean,
I had
guess,
a roommate one time that used to go to Goodwill, and I thought, why would anybody go to Goodwill
Yeah. It
and
makes us
buy?
sound a little bit like snobs, but we don't mean it to come out that way. It's just we just never thought about it. You know, we just never. I don't know. We just never thought
But
about going.
if you can get something for 10 cents on the
Yeah.
dollar, it's like.
Make your money last a lot longer,
Yeah.
for sure.
So anyway, what about you? What'd you do this week?
Well, we put our Christmas tree up. Actually, we bought a new Christmas tree. I know you weren't too crazy about that idea. He gets attached to things and doesn't want to get rid of them. But the tree we've had. Oh gosh, how long have we had that tree? It's been over
Probably
25
20.
years. Oh, it's been at least 25 years.
Yeah,
Because I feel like we got that tree shortly when Blake was like just a baby.
yeah.
Anyway, it's one of those trees you have to put each branch in individually, and it takes forever
The
to
old
set it
one
up.
was.
The old one was, yes. And it got to the point where all the needles were dropping off, and it just looked like a Charlie Brown tree. It was pathetic looking. It really was. It was just bad. So I took the bull by the horns and bought a tree on sale at Target for half price, and we got it, and it comes in 3 parts. You put one stick down into the stand, and then the branches just kind of fall open, and oh my gosh.
It literally took about 3 minutes to
Yes.
put that thing up. That
Of course,
was
you have
great.
to fluff it, make it look
That was
pretty,
pretty
but
nice.
I
You have to
love
do
it.
a lot
It
of
looks
fluffing.
great. But anyway, the boys came over for Thanksgiving because, unfortunately, we decided to be responsible adults and not be around either one of our parents for Thanksgiving because someone close to me at work's been exposed to COVID. I didn't want to take a chance that potentially I was carrying the virus and didn't know it because that happens. So we were being responsible and stayed home for Thanksgiving. The boys came over. We just had chicken fajitas and spaghetti. It was very untraditional Thanksgiving dinner.
We had a little bit of a crisis too with our barbecue grill.
Yeah, it didn't work. So fortunately, he kept our George Foreman grill, so we George Foremaned our chicken. We haven't used it in forever.
That is a bummer.
Well,
the grill didn't work. I've
yeah,
got to
but
fix
it
that
tasted
tomorrow.
good, though.
That'll be my project for tomorrow.
Yeah. But see, that's what I'm getting back to what I'm saying earlier, though. You have the advantage of being able to get out there and fix things. A lot of people don't have that knowledge or the patience
Yeah,
to do what you do.
I just enjoy fixing things.
Which, by the way, I was going to say, I'm glad you brought that back up. Kevin has started a YouTube channel, and we'll link it in our podcast description, but of where he videotapes himself fixing things because he's been kind of hooked on some other YouTubers that do the same thing, and it's just very interesting to watch them. Well, actually, you kind of learned basically the electronics part of it, right?
Yeah,
From
I just taught
a couple
myself,
of YouTubers.
taught myself how to do it. You know, my dad owned a Radio Shack store when
Yeah.
I was a kid, and I did a little bit of electronics back then, but
Right.
I've wanted to get back into it over the last few years. So
Well, again, I think it's great that you're sharing that because a lot of people they have not been taught to fix things like that around the house, and it's a handy thing to have.
it's such a throwaway society now. I mean,
Yes,
people
absolutely.
just throw things away.
I'm guilty of it.
Perfectly good things.
I'm definitely guilty of doing it.
And things are really made to just be thrown away. Like radios and things now. But the
Yeah.
older ones, like the older radios and guitar amplifiers that I've been working on, they're from the 50s and 60s
Yeah.
and 40s, and that stuff was made to last and to be repaired back then.
Yeah, that's
anyway.
true. So that was basically our week. And the boys helped me decorate the Christmas tree. So now it's nice and pretty. We have like an old fashioned tree. We actually put icicles on our trees. Don't laugh.
I actually like
But
that. It's just like an old fashioned
It
Christmas
definitely
tree.
looks old fashioned. That's for sure. And then we kind of wanted to maybe like ask a question or give our thoughts on some kind of philosophical thing. I can tell by his face. He's not very excited.
We're going to do that this time?
Yes, we are doing this time. So there's a website that I've been really into lately. It's called Mark and Angel Hack Life. And they have an article in here about 40 things we need to teach our kids before they're too cool to hear our wisdom, which I think is super cool because they're saying, and I totally agree with them, that kids nowadays are not taught to critically think for themselves, and they just consume so much social media. They're not taught to think on their own. So one of the things I thought we could talk about, it kind of reminds me of what Blake was talking about at Thanksgiving, is attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Don't base your attitude on how things are. Choose your attitude so it supports and expresses the way you wish to be. Frustration and stress come from the way you respond and react, not the circumstance themselves. Adjust your attitude and the frustration and stress is gone. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
That's
I am like Mr. Positive Attitude.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to have, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm almost like up over the edge though sometimes with
You
my
are.
attitude.
He
It's
is.
like
He's
in
definitely
the
over the
face
edge
of
sometimes.
in the face of certain death. I'm like, yeah, well, we can do it. We can still do it. It's possible.
Right. So, yes, but I wanted to talk about that because I feel like Blake was discouraged because he's having he works at Walmart, okay, and people right now, as a general rule, are just stressed out and unhappy and angry because of all the stuff that's going on and all the restrictions that they're being forced to abide by. And he had a customer yell at him, and it really made him feel bad because he's been taught that it's disrespectful and rude to yell at people no matter how angry you are, no matter what's going on. And we were trying to tell him it's likely the man was not mad at you personally. He was mad at the situation. You have no idea what situation he came from. Maybe he was discouraged because his family just told him they couldn't spend Thanksgiving with him, So we're just trying to explain all this. And I told him that the only thing you can control is your reaction to whatever is happening to you. You can't control other people. You can't control other circumstances. You can only control how you react to it. And I think more people need to be taught that. Don't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I found that when people are grouchy and crabby, usually there's a reason, like something's going on with their family,
Right.
or something.
It's not you personally.
Yeah.
It's hard not to take it
I mean,
personally.
there are certain people that are crabby and grouchy all the time, but for
Which
the
is-
most part,
Which is sad, by the way,
Yeah.
because, they probably, their life probably sucks, and that's terrible.
And
But
I can just think back this. I used to work with this sweet old lady. She was like a secretary that for one of the companies that I worked for, and she was usually so sweet. But then every once in a while, she was just like really
like Demon
grouchy.
Woman.
And come to find out, there'd be something going on with one of her kids,
Yeah.
something. So
right.
if you can just try to remember that,
Yeah.
it's usually something going on in their life. There's
Yeah.
nothing you did.
But it's just a life lesson you have to learn. I think everybody at some point in their life, it should be a requirement to
Yeah.
work with the public
Yeah,
because
this is going to be really good for him.
yeah, it really will be.
Because he's sort of been sheltered too much.
Well, we spoiled him. I'll just flat out say it. So let's get back to that hospital you were talking about. So what's going on with that hospital in
and then,
Texas?
Let's see, let's see, at Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, waiting rooms were turned into examined areas as a medical tent was built in order to deal with the surge of patients.
That's crazy.
Houston doctor said local hospital beds were at capacity, telling sufferers they might be better off staying at home. And Austin's emergency rooms have also seen an influx of patients.
Wow. I wonder if that's like that across the entire country.
Well, actually, this story is from 2018.
Really?
Yeah, 2018 flu.
Wow.
Do you remember all of the lockdowns in 2018?
I don't recall that. I don't believe so.
Do you remember having to wear a mask in 2018?
I do not believe we had to wear a mask in 2018. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just another example of how things really have just gotten
Right.
this year just completely.
Just blown out of proportion. So basically, we're dealing with the same type of stuff that we've been dealing with in years past, but just that this year specifically, probably largely because it's election year and they want Trump out of office, so they're going to make it as difficult as possible for people to get out and vote. That they enacted all of these ordinances and restrictions and
Right. Right, and there's statistics out there regarding the flu virus this year, the 2020 flu virus, and that the flu is down 98% this year.
How is that possible?
Well, I guess there's a couple different things that
I'm
could
being
be.
sarcastic.
There's a couple of different things that could be. Like maybe people are just being more clean and washing their hands and wearing masks.
Now that's very true, and I would definitely I would discount the masks because I don't think the masks work personally. I think I can even give you some examples of. Well, anyway, let's not go down that road. But I don't believe that masks are effective or as effective as they hoped they would be. But I do agree. I do think that people, as a general rule, are more conscious of being more healthy, washing their hands, wiping down surfaces, that kind of thing. So, yes, I do think that the flu might be down because of people taking these precautions. But 98%,
98%.
that can't be realistic.
It's a combination of that. It's got to be a combination of that. People are just cleaner this year, and the COVID cases are just really flu cases, and they're getting counted as COVID cases.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't know about that. I know you
Well,
keep saying that, but
Well, what
just
other
don't
explanation
know.
can there be? 98%.
Yeah, man, I'm not disagreeing with you entirely because I do think that there's some of that definitely is going on, but it's just so hard to know because nobody will be honest with you.
The news media is just so. The United States news media is just so
Yeah.
off the rails that you can't believe anything that they're saying.
You really can't.
There's not one thing that they're saying that's accurate about this.
And then they're trying very hard and succeeding, by the way, of censoring anything that's being put out there, so
And-
you don't know
and
about
just
it.
scaring everybody. You see people
Scaring
driving in their
everybody.
car by themselves wearing a mask.
Yeah. Or walking down the street by themselves with a mask on. It's just, yeah, it's kind of sad.
I was looking at the death rates comparing, back to 2018. I was looking at 2018 compared to 2020, and it's virtually identical. In 2018, there were like 7,778 deaths per day, just for all types of death. and that's
Not
2018.
not anything specifically, just like
Just-
generally
just all
speaking.
deaths. This is from the
Like
CDC
motor vehicle
website.
accidents,
Mhm.
diseases, all that stuff.
And in 2020, it's virtually identical.
Wow.
It's the same numbers. It's like,
Yeah.
so we are up from 2019 quite a
Yeah.
bit, but I mean, things average out,
Yeah.
so.
And that's the thing
I-
with Kevin is he's a numbers guy, so he's always running the numbers and looking at the math behind some of this stuff, which the majority of people don't do. And when you look at the math part of it, it allows you to kind of step back and look at it more realistically and logically, I guess. So, I mean, I'm definitely not a math person because I don't. Trust me, when the boys needed help with their math homework, it was like Kevin needs to help because I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I just wish the news media would be more honest.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Everybody.
It's pretty
I think
frustrating.
It's beyond frustrating. And speaking of the media, there was let me think. How did this start? Trump had some kind of news conference where he was intending to report on something, but he ended up taking a bunch of questions from the media because it had been a little while since he'd had a news conference, and one reporter, I wish I knew where he was from, but was just
It was Reuters.
Oh, of course it was. And I was going to say either that or CNN.
Well, Reuters though should be they're usually pretty level-headed, I would think, but not. I mean, compared to MSNBC and CNN. And
Well, I
those.
used to say that about Fox too, and what happened to Fox? Fox has done a 180.
Wow. Yeah.
They've been terribly disappointing. Anyway, so I guess he was getting a little disrespectful and kind of he was talking back to the president and interrupting him and just being generally disrespectful. And Trump had to say, "Look, I'm the president. You need to stop talking to me like that."
He is the president of the United States
And
of
this little
America, the
punk-ass
best
kid-
country in the world.
It's like having some kind of like just he was just truly being
I mean,
disrespectful.
just
to
can you
him.
believe how they talk to him and they're just like screaming like hyenas at the president.
I know, and then on the flip side of that, it's already started. Pay attention, guys. Pay attention to how the media is treating Biden and Kamala Harris because it is so blatantly obvious that they're so biased. There was an interview with Colbert and Obama, and they had shown the first part of it, and Colbert was just practically salivating over Obama sitting there because he's like, let me just take a moment and feast my eyes on you. Just saying things like that to the point where it was just like, okay, this is really awkward and weird. So
It's a cult. The Democrat Party is really just a big cult.
now I hesitate to say the Democrat Party because I feel like normal Democrats probably don't want anything to do with what's happening right now. When you say, because I would say it's like the far left that have become like now known as the
Yeah,
Democrats.
I think it's the Democrats.
Because I mean, I work with some Democrats at work, and they don't.
Okay, while we're on the subject of that in the media, okay,
Yeah.
there was this some research done that showed that 82% of Biden voters were unaware of at least one scandal surrounding the president,
Did
the
you
vice
say
president.
82%?
82%.
Wow, that's a large
45%
percentage.
didn't know about Hunter Biden's corruption in Ukraine.
Speaking of, where is Hunter
I
Biden?
haven't heard one thing
Has-
about him. Have you?
Nope, not one thing.
35% of the Biden voters didn't know that Joe Biden was accused of sexual misconduct.
Oh, come on,
And
35%.
17% of those voters said that they wouldn't have voted for Biden if they had known about these items. So the news media is they just cover up all this
Well,
really important things
That's
that people should
precisely
know.
why they do it right there.
So
So they can withhold that information to potentially sway someone to vote one way or another. It's just sad and alarming, honestly, what they're all doing here. Also on this COVID thing, I was looking at an article on the Blaze. New York City mayor announces checkpoints at bridges and crossings, hypes real penalties in order to keep people safe for the holidays.
So they're gonna have checkpoints
They're
for
gonna have
Thanksgiving.
checkpoints.
That was for Thanksgiving.
Well, I think for the holidays, so I'm assuming that means it's going to like be
So
from here on out.
So like whenever they see an out of state car coming in, they'll pull it over and say, "Do you have your COVID
Yeah.
test or something?"
Yeah. We'll be stepping up enforcement measures to make sure everyone follows government-imposed COVID mandates.
Huh. And what state was that?
New York City. That was a mayor of
Man,
New York
that's a
City.
lot. That's a that. You know how bad the traffic is up there. How could they even pull something like that off? That must just be random.
It said during a news conference Tuesday, de Blasio announced that city officials and law enforcement would be focused on making sure people follow the COVID edicts. Is it edicts or edicts?
Edicts.
Edicts by ramping up penalties and checkpoints. Included in the stricter New York mandates is a travel quarantine for non-New Yorkers coming into the city. No one will be spared from the crackdown. That sounds so ominous. No one will be spared.
Yeah, this is the United States of America. We got
Isn't that
checkpoints
crazy?
now.
You guys, seriously, dude, this is some serious stuff.
Dude.
Guys, dudettes. This is bad. People need to wake up. This is just the tip of the iceberg. You can't let this go on. Speaking of not letting going on, what was that story you were telling me about the restaurant owners saying, forget this, we're going
This
to
was
open
actually
anyway.
in Illinois.
Illinois.
They've got further restrictions on dining in, and I don't know what the percentage is, but
I
the
thought they
restaurant.
just said you couldn't dine in at all.
And it wasn't during the summer. It wasn't as bad because they could have people out, sitting
Yeah.
outside on the sidewalk. Now that it's getting cold up there, especially Illinois, Chicago, it's pretty cold up there in the wintertime. These restaurant owners are saying they can't make it with what they're allowed. The restrictions that they've got going. So they're just.
So basically, they've gotten to the point where they have nothing to lose, and they're just going to do it.
They're going to lose their business, or they're going to basically just avoid the restrictions, just ignore the restrictions, basically, or they're going to just have to close their doors.
And you know what? I think that's a good thing. I think more of us need to stand up and say enough is enough with these restrictions. This is ridiculous.
These governments have too much power. They'll say, well, we'll just pull your
We'll
restaurant
fine you
license, your
thousands
business
of
license.
dollars
Yeah,
and-
so it's pretty tough.
But I
Pretty
just
tough
feel
situation.
like that it goes beyond restaurants, though. I think people in general just need to start saying, nope, not going to do it. We're done. It's not as bad as y'all think it is, and vaccines are just around the corner. We have some medications that you refuse to acknowledge that work if you catch it quick, early enough. I just think people. I mean, where do we draw the line? I guess is my question. It's like, how much more are we going to take before people are like,
I don't
okay,
know.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
We can't see our families. We can't go anywhere without checkpoints. I mean, it's,
Can't go to church.
You can't go to church.
You can go to a strip club.
Yes,
but you
I was
can't
going to
go-
say. Oh my God.
And I think it was Las Vegas, a pastor declared that his church was a strip club.
And tell him what he did.
He stripped off his tie and threw it into the audience, and that was so he would be able to have a church service.
Now that is a creative man. That's what you. But that's what you got to do. I mean, we've reached that point where you have to get creative just to live your life.
But see, what they'll do is
It's
they'll come back
crazy.
with, we're going to take your tax exempt status away from
I
you.
know.
So there you go.
I know they've got you by the short and curlies, and this is one reason why you don't want big government. This is why you don't want government to run your business, because they come back and they start threatening
I mean,
you, and they've got you over a barrel.
If there's anything we've seen in 2020 is how easy it is for governments to overstep their power,
You know what?
overstep their bounds.
I'm going to piggyback that. I'm going to raise you. I'm going to bet you. I'm going to raise you on that one. It's not just government. Look at what Facebook and Twitter have been doing. They have been blatantly censoring people, not just politicians, not just the president, but people. You can't even voice an opinion or link to an article without getting censored and deleted or slapped or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I canceled my Facebook account this week. I just completely deleted it. I didn't just disable it. I deleted it.
Pretty surprised you did that, honestly. And I'm proud of you, honestly.
I have actually been thinking
Good
about
you.
it for...
Good job, Kevin. Good job.
For a couple of months, because I actually got censored.
You did?
Yeah.
On what?
I linked it was one of those Awakening with JP, that real funny redheaded
Oh
kid.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
And it was,
That
I mean,
guy's
it was
hilarious.
about the death rates on COVID, and it was, important information. I thought
Right.
I hardly ever share anything,
Right.
and I got censored.
Wow. So like
And
when you say censor, like what do?
it
They flag your
it
post?
when you would go to the post, it would be grayed out. It would say
Oh.
this post contains information that is considered inaccurate.
So basically they're protecting you from yourself because you might need to go to your safe space.
Well, they were
We wouldn't want you to be upset.
right. They were protecting my friends from my,
That's
posts.
crazy. Well, and the reason I bring that up too is I watched a 4-hour congressional hearing on Zuckerberg and Dorsey testifying
Jack
before,
Jack Dorsey is the CEO
Yeah.
of Twitter. He invented
and then
Twitter,
Zuckerberg,
and
of course, from
yeah.
Facebook. But they were questioning these gentlemen, trying to determine if they were still protected under Section 230, which I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure what that means. But basically, it comes down to, are you a publisher or are you not? Because if you're not a publisher, then the 230 protects you. If you are a publisher, 230 does not protect you.
Yeah, their argument is that these are all posts from our users. They're not really us. But when you get down to start censoring something,
Right.
then you become a publisher. Is the argument.
Which makes sense because, like, an editor of a newspaper
Yeah.
is going to
You're
determine what
editing.
articles
You're editing.
do or do not appear,
Yeah.
and that's basically what they're doing. Well,
Right.
no, that's what they're doing. That's not basically what they're doing.
Right.
So, yeah, it was super interesting, and it was really interesting to see both sides of the aisle kind of talking to these guys and asking them questions, because it was the Democrats were all like, "This is fantastic. We love it. You need to do more.
More censorship.
You need to have more censoring. And why aren't you censoring more?" And then the Republicans are like, "What are you talking about? Why are you censoring at all?"
Right.
It was really very interesting to talk about. And then one thing too about Candace Owens, I really love her, by the way. I have kind of a girl crush on her. She's awesome. She actually sued the PolitiFact partners that Facebook used to fact check information that people would put on Facebook, and she won. Not only did PolitiFact remove their false rating and retract an article on why Owens' video was allegedly false, but the site offered an added correction admitting their fault. So I'm super happy this happened. It's too bad that she had to hire lawyers to do this. It should never happen to begin with. And unfortunately, it was one video. But I feel like it's the first step. And this is the kind of thing I feel like people need to start doing, like fighting back. Stop just bending over and taking it. Well, that sounded kind of bad, huh? But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not a. I'm not really a big boycotter or anything like that,
No.
but it's
Of course,
just
you did delete your Facebook account.
I that's what I'm getting at. I did, because it's just really what they did for this election is just
Yeah. Inexcusable.
that's just crazy.
It
It's
really
just
is.
insane. And I guess you've got a Parler account now, so how's that working out?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I made a Parler account because Twitter made me so mad that I thought, screw this, I'm done. But I don't really know what Parler is. I haven't really taken the time to look at it. I don't know if it's Twitter, like more set up like Twitter, or more set up like Facebook, or a combination of both. But a lot of people are moving to Parler, and so I don't really know. Do you know what it is?
All I know is sometimes when you go to certain websites, it'll say there's an advertisement saying, "Here's the alternative, the conservative alternative to Facebook."
Yeah.
And you click on it, it's Parler. But I think Parler's more like Twitter, which I never understood anyway. It's
Well,
like I never got Twitter.
Twitter's like one big long running conversation that uses hashtags to
Which-
basically.
I'm not much of a conversationalist,
know.
so I guess that's why I don't.
I don't
get into
know.
that. But I think I will try Parler because one thing I did like about Facebook is being able to kind of keep up with what family
Yeah.
members are doing and friends are doing.
But this is just an example of how companies can get too big and then take over everything. And then that's never a good thing.
yeah, offer all this stuff for free, and then they take advantage of it.
Yeah, but then they start choosing, what they will and won't tell you. And that's never a good thing either.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Wait, one last thing. Tell me your high and low for the week. my high, I have two things of my highs. One, NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo. I'm wearing the t-shirt. It's National Novel Writing Month. I won. Woohoo!
Oh, you already did?
I crossed the 50,000 word line. So that was great. I haven't won in like 10 years. I haven't participated like in 10 years. That was fun. And number two, this morning, Kevin gets up and he tells me about some kind of dream, and it tickled him so much he literally fell to the floor laughing. And I'm looking at him like, are you high?
I have some of the weirdest and wildest dreams in the world. It's crazy. Sometimes some of my dreams are just so wild.
But it's like you were talking and like giving me a conversation that I wasn't privy to. But what cracked me up was like you literally fell to the floor laughing.
I couldn't even get it out. It was so funny. It was really crazy.
So I had to say that was a really great start to the day. You made me laugh so much.
I think my high for the week was getting to play Super Nintendo with my sons on Thanksgiving.
Donkey Kong.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we got them that. We said when we had kids, we were not going to let them have video games.
Famous last words, unfortunately.
But we didn't let them have the violent ones, but we had some fun.
Oh, we did
and
when
we
they got
pulled out
older.
the Super Nintendo. That thing is 25 years old and it still works.
It's a
pretty
good
fun.
game. It's a good
It was
game.
pretty fun.
And then the low was not being able to have Thanksgiving with our family. That was kind of depressing.
Yeah, that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Would you say that was probably your low too?
Yeah.
Probably a
Yeah,
low for everybody.
So my mom came over the day before Thanksgiving. I didn't tell you that. She walked around our house looking
She
at your
did?
office and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Like she was
Now I'm thinking about how
wishing-
dirty it probably was when she
No,
came over here.
It looked good. So anyway,
All right. Well, we'll wrap this up. We're trying to add a few more chuckles in and some lighthearted because who wants to talk about politics? I mean, it's just depressing. You want to talk about it, but you don't want
it's
to.
important.
It's
It's very
important.
important.
But it's not.
Yeah.
You need to live your life. Just live your
Right.
life and be happy.
Yeah.
So.
And don't the news media is just out there to try to scare you and
Yeah, don't let
create fear.
Don't let them do that.
Yeah.
Be alert, not anxious.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Have
All
a
right.
great week. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.